Chosen one. What you're about to hear may unsettle you, but only because it's the truth your spirit has been waiting for. If you feel like something is about to change the way you see work, money and provision, stay with me. This moment was not random. What if the pressure you've been under isn't punishment, but preparation for a complete shift? Chosen one, what I'm about to share with you may shake you to your core. Not because it's harsh, but because it's true. And if you are here right now, it's not by accident. Heaven arranged this moment. You didn't stumble into this message, you were led. So receive it with an open heart, because God is bringing you to a turning point so sharp, so sacred that it will forever change how you see money, work, and provision. You've been pushing, grinding, applying, interviewing, overthinking, carrying that quiet, unspoken fear of what if nothing changes. You've done your part, and then some. God has seen every unseen tear, every late-night spiral, every morning you got up and kept moving even when you were exhausted from being strong. Scripture says you have kept count of my wanderings, put my tears in your bottle. That means none of it was wasted. None of it was ignored. God has been watching the entire story, not just the moments others applauded. And here is the truth. God is shifting you out of survival mode. Not because you earned relief through suffering, not because stress proved your worth, but because His timing has arrived. There is a difference between working faithfully and being worked down to the bone. A difference between diligence and depletion. A difference between purpose and punishment. You learned endurance in this season, but exhaustion was never meant to become your identity. Before we go deeper, pause for a moment. Like the video, subscribe, and comment 99. Not because a number holds power, but because obedience creates alignment. This is you signaling. I'm not just hearing this, I'm receiving it. And if you truly are chosen, something in you already knows to stay until the end. Truth makes demands, and not everyone is willing to answer them. Now breathe and hear this clearly. The chase is ending. The cycle of scrambling is breaking. The season of begging for doors to open is closing behind you. God is not dismissing your effort. He is replacing your strain with His strength. Scripture says, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit. What you couldn't force through effort, God can unlock with a single breath of favor. You've been searching for the right job, the right connection, the right opening, only to hit the same walls, roles that undervalue you, environments that shrink you, paychecks that feel like a leash instead of a blessing. And God is saying, stop measuring your future by what the market offers. Your source is not a system. Your source is the one who created every system and can rewrite outcomes instantly. You're not about to be rescued by a job. You're about to be carried by provision. Provision doesn't always look like a salary. Sometimes it's a door opening at the exact moment you are ready to quit. Sometimes it's an opportunity so specific it can't be explained away. Sometimes it's a yes that doesn't make sense on paper. Provision is God placing your name in rooms you never stepped into. Scripture says the blessing of the Lord adds no sorrow. What God brings into your life will not carry the same panic, heaviness, and fear you've been living under. You've been operating like everything depended on you. But God is inviting you into a new phase, holy rest. Not lazy rest, not careless rest, but rest rooted in trust. Rest that says, I will be faithful, but I will not be frantic. Rest that says, I will move forward, but I will not spiral. Rest that says, I will obey, but I will not fear. Jesus said, come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. That is not poetry. It is an invitation with authority. You've had nights staring at the ceiling, running numbers in your head, stretching what you have. wondering if you're falling behind. You've sent messages that never got answered, watched others rise while you felt stuck, and quietly asked, "God, did you forget me?" He did not. You may feel overlooked, but you are not unseen. And because you're not unseen, God is stepping in not to shame you, but to shift you, not to punish you, but to position you. Doors you couldn't open are beginning to move. Resistance is softening. Repeated no's are losing their power. God says He has set before you an open door that no one can shut. And when God opens a door, it doesn't require begging, requires readiness. You thought you were just surviving, but heaven was training you. You thought you were delayed, but God was developing discernment. You thought you were being tested, but God was strengthening your foundation. Abundance without maturity destroys people. Increase without wisdom breaks them. But you have been forged, and that is why God can trust you with more. Greatness in God's kingdom is not always loud. Sometimes greatness looks like perseverance, kindness and faith when nothing seems to move. You've had your night. Morning is approaching. And now, as God begins to remove your dependence on what drains you, the roles, systems and environments that cannot honor the oil on your life, there is a deeper revelation that needs to be understood. After everything you've heard so far, there is one key that holds it all together, and that key is surrender. Not surrender like defeat, not giving up in exhaustion, but surrender as trust. The kind of trust that loosens your grip and lets God lead. Scripture says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight." When you stop clutching everything with fear, your hands finally open enough to receive. This is where many people misunderstand faith. Faith is not pretending bills don't exist. Faith is seeing the bill and still knowing God is bigger. Faith is facing reality without bowing to it. Faith is hearing the noise and choosing the promise anyway. Faith is obedience, even when nothing feels loud or dramatic. As Scripture says, faith is the assurance of what we hope, for the conviction of things not yet seen. You don't need to see it moving to know that it is, and here's where it goes deeper. God is not only preparing to give you provision, He is giving you peace. Because money without peace becomes another cage. But when God provides, He brings a security that settles your nervous system, a stability that lets you breathe again, a rest that restores your joy. Scripture says God keeps in perfect peace those whose minds are stayed on Him. Peace is part of your inheritance. You are an heir, not a spiritual orphan struggling to survive, but a child of the King. The Word tells us that if we are children, then we are heirs. That doesn't make you arrogant. It frees you from believing you're unworthy. It stops you from apologizing for expecting God to be who He said He is. Some of you have been surrounded by people who doubted you, minimized you, or quietly watched your struggle like entertainment. They smiled when you were down, questioned your pace, treated your hardship as proof that you weren't special. But God is about to answer them without debate. He will respond with results. When the Lord restores, it feels like a dream. And that kind of turnaround silences critics, not because you fought them, but because God favored you. When the shift happens, you won't need to announce it. Your peace will speak. Your stability will speak. Your generosity will speak. Even the light in your eyes will speak. But prepare your heart, because abundance is not only for comfort. God blesses chosen ones so they can become channels. He gives to you, yes, but He also gives through you. Not to drain you, but to make you fruitful. Scripture says you will be enriched in every way so that you can be generous in every way. Now picture this. Money moving toward you like a river. Not a drip, not a trickle. A steady, clean, unstoppable flow. You didn't create the river. You didn't force it. You simply stepped into the place where it flows. That is what alignment looks like. God has been guiding you step by step even when doors closed and answers didn't come. Some no moments were protection, some delays were mercy, some detours were divine. Scripture says the steps of the righteous are ordered by the Lord, even the confusing ones. And here is another truth: God doesn't just drop blessings, He builds capacity. The Word says He gives you power to produce wealth. Power includes wisdom, skill, favor, timing, discipline, creativity, strategy, and connections. That's why your mind has been stretching. That's why ideas keep surfacing. That's why you feel pulled toward new directions. God often answers prayers with instructions, and when you follow them, provision follows you. But guard your focus. The enemy doesn't only use fear, sometimes he uses comparison. Don't become bitter over what others receive. Celebrate it. Celebration keeps your heart clean, and a clean heart is a safe place for increase. Now comes the release. There are things you must let go of: scarcity, thinking limiting stories, self-rejection disguised as humility, and the belief that suffering is required to be holy. God can bless you without breaking you, elevate you without humiliating you, increase you without stealing your peace. He cares about your whole life, not just your spiritual appearance. When God says no more, He's not only talking about jobs. He's talking about cycles. Cycles of panic. Cycles of barely enough. Cycles of being overlooked. He's cutting the chain, and you are protected. Heaven does not release blessing and leave you exposed. Angels are assigned to guard your steps, your decisions, your timing, and your transitions. Walk wisely, yes, but not fearfully. Heaven guards what heaven releases. Now I want to speak to the tired part of you, the part afraid to hope again because disappointment hurt too much. I understand. But remember, this God does not lie. If He spoke it, it is dependable. And some of you are stepping into sudden reversals. Not randomly, but because obedience has met divine timing. One call can change everything. One message, one connection, one idea, one contract. And when it happens, it may feel unreal. That is acceleration. God restores years, not always slowly, sometimes all at once. Your responsibility in the middle of increase is simple. Stay anchored, stay humble, stay grateful, stay obedient. Abundance is not permission to forget. God's an invitation to know Him deeper. So make this decision today. You will not chase what God is already sending. You will not beg for what God has already approved. You will not shrink to stay comfortable. You will not measure your life by someone else's timeline. Instead, you will prepare for increase. Guard your peace. Honor God with what you have, and expect Him to multiply, because He is able to do far more than you ask or imagine. Chosen one, you are not standing at the edge of another disappointing chapter. You are standing at the doorway of a new season. A season of favor over grinding, grace over striving, peace over panic. Walk forward with peace. Hold your heart steady. Trust the timing that is now unfolding. The weight is lifting, the path is opening, and what is coming will confirm everything you endured. Stay faithful. Stay aligned. And remember, you are chosen, and your season has arrived.